thank you all for coming this morning. I'll now pass you on to Jess. Jess Patak, who's the project manager for Answer Cancer.
Good morning, everybody. It's fantastic to see so many people here that have joined us today. Start off by saying, and I think this is going to be my last one, Happy New Year to everybody. It's one of those questions that you think, how long do you carry on wishing people Happy New Year? But you're my last audience that I'm saying it to. So welcome to our Stakeholder Collaborative, and we've got a focused event today looking at preventing cervical cancer. There's a few things I'm going to run through with you before we kick off. Elizabeth, if you want to share the screen for me for the housekeeping, please. Right, we've got quite a lot to get through, and I'm going to make my bit quite short and sweet because we're already 5 minutes late. So we're asking you all to keep your cameras on mute unless you're speaking. If you want to ask any questions, at the bottom of your screen, you will see there's a reaction button and you can raise a hand, or you can type a question into the chat box, and one of the Answer Cancer team will be monitoring that as well. But please don't just unmute yourself and shout out in the middle of a presentation. That'd be great. We're going to email out all the slides that you'll see. You've already had an update on the programme, so I'm not going to be spending time going through that. If you've got any questions on any of the work streams that we have across Answer Cancer, you can contact myself or any of the team to have a chat about anything that you want. We are recording this session, and as already has been said, we have our own YouTube channel that you can have a look at and see all the different videos that we're producing. So we will be uploading the Stakeholders Collaborative and maybe editing some sections out of it as well. So it won't be an hour-and-a-half video, but you might see yourself appearing on it as well. So if you don't want to have your face on the video, if you can make sure you keep your camera off, that'd be great. And obviously we're all getting used to doing the meetings online, but please treat it as though we are meeting face to face, and be respectful of other participants in the room as well. If you've got any questions, just post them into the chat box, and as I said, we'll get back to you. Can we also ask you all to please sign in the chat box? We've got 80 people have registered to come along today, so we just really want to see who's here. So if you could put your first name and your last name into the chat box, that'd be fantastic. Obviously, because we are all working online, we're aware that people have dodgy internet connections. So if you end up being kicked out of the meeting, just dial back in and we will allow you back in again. Obviously, if you've got dogs with you or you're expecting parcels or whatever, just keep your profile muted and your camera off, and that'll be fine. And the last one was please sign in, and that's great. So as I said, you've had a work stream update, but just across Answer Cancer over December, we've had quite a busy month and stuff. You might have seen that we've been leafleting a lot across some of the boroughs of Greater Manchester, going out in food parcels, which has been very much about promoting cancer screening to communities. So we had some very positive feedback about that. As always, we've got training coming up with the lovely Elizabeth, so you will have all had notification about that, so please book onto that. We have the new Engage GM newsletter that'll be going out this week, and we've also got a Cancer Champions bulletin due as well. And we've also, sorry, and also please mute your phones, which I haven't done. Sorry, that always happens. I'm really sorry. So as I was saying, sorry, that's really thrown me off my stride there now. So so said, we've had a really busy Christmas and we've got the bulletins coming out, and we've also got an online resource which we're going to go through as well to give you lots of tools and tricks to talk about raising awareness on cervical screening. And I think that's it. We've got a question and answer chat at the end of the session. So if you'd like to stay and do that, it is extending the session by half an hour, but or if you can't stay but you've got a burning question that you'd like to ask, stick it in the chat and one of us will get back to you as well. All right, I'm going to hand back over to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, it's all yours. Thank you.
Thanks, Jess. That was great. So I have put the agenda in the chat box, but that's just a quick look at it for anybody who needs to see it there. So next up, we'll be doing a cervical cancer quiz. But first, can I just start by saying good morning? Lovely to see you all. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name's Elizabeth. I'm a training and development worker for Cancer. It's my job to plan and organise cancer awareness training sessions for cancer champions and community groups. Training is free and it's open to anyone living or working within Greater Manchester. So if you're interested in receiving news about upcoming training courses, then just let me know. I'll share the information on how you can contact me at the end. And by the way, it's me that has a barking dog. So if a parcel gets delivered or the doorbell goes, apologies in advance. I will have to kind of just get it just to calm my dog down. So I'm apologising in advance for that, but I have already had some mail this morning, so hopefully she won't bark. So on with the quiz. Okay, it's quite exciting. So the first question, we're going to write our answers in the chat box. Okay, so how old, let me just say, what's the lowest age someone is invited to attend for a cervical screen or a smear test? A, B or C? So we'll just write our answers in the chat box. A, B or C? Wow, we know our stuff. We're off to a good start. Yes, it's C. Thank you. And by the way, the interactive parts, they're meant to be a bit fun. If you're struggling on whatever equipment that you've got, please don't struggle. Just join in where you can. And
Elizabeth, sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth. I'm having problems with my chat box.
Don't worry, Jackie.
That's it, right, honestly. I didn't cheat.
Fantastic. Don't worry, if you can't do it, doesn't matter. Write them on a piece of paper, just join in where you can. So I appreciate that some people will have more trouble doing this than others. It'll be the same when we come to doing the polls. So just join in where you can. Okay, so yes, the answer is C, 25 years old. And women are invited to attend for cervical screening, their smear test, every 3 years between 25 and 49, and every 5 years between 50 and 64. So the next question is, it's between gender and cervical screening. Men can attend for a cervical screen or a smear test. Is that true or false? So again, we're going to write our answers. Oh, no, don't write your answers. I'm actually going to launch a poll for this one. So this is a bit exciting. So I've launched the poll now. So if you can, and only if you can, click whether it's true or false, or whether you're unsure in the box. And then I'll just give you a minute or so to do that, because some of you will be able to do it and some won't. So we'll just see how it goes. Okay, I'm going to end the voting there because I don't think the rest of you might not be able to vote. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to share the results. Okay. So as you can see, most of us think that that's false. There's a few people who think it's true and there's a few unsure. So quite an interesting mix there. So the answer is true. Men can attend for a cervical screen. So if you're a trans man, you could attend. The important thing to note is that only people who are registered as female with their GP will be invited to attend. So if you're a trans man, that is that you're assigned female at birth, but have now transitioned to a male and are now registered as male with your GP, you may not be invited. Okay, so it's important to check out how you are now registered. The rule of thumb is, if you have a cervix, then cervical screening is for you. Okay, so let me move on to the next one. Women who identify as LGBT don't need to attend for screening. And is that true, false, or unsure? So for that one, you can write your answer in the chat box. You're going to write true, false, or unsure in the chat box. False, false, B, false, false. Yeah, I think we've overwhelmingly got that right. Okay, so it is false. Women who identify as lesbian or women who have sex with other women still need to attend for regular cervical screens. In times gone by, I think some lesbian women may have been ill-advised by health workers that they don't need to attend for screening because they don't have sex with men, or maybe they were told by other lesbians that they don't need to be screened, but they do. Women who have sex with other women can still pass on the HPV virus, which is the #1 cause of cervical cancer in women. So yes, they do need to be screened. Okay, so let me just move on to the next one. So people don't need to attend for screening if they're not yet sexually active. So write your answer in the chat box. Is that true or false? So again, we're going to write our answers in the chat box, true or false. Let's see what we've got. B. Let me just see which one B was again. Yeah, it's false. It's false. So well done. Absolutely well done. You do, this one is false. Yeah, you do still need to attend for screening, whether you're sexually active or not. It's true that you're at a lower risk of cervical cancer if you're not active, because most HPV infections are sexually transmitted, but again, it's low risk, not no risk. So therefore, women still need to attend for their cervical screening if they're of cervical screening age and are not yet sexually active. This question has more significance to certain communities and cultural significances and faith groups where women may remain a virgin until they're married. So having a cervical smear test, they may feel that they can break the hymen, which then they feel may render them not a virgin. But having a cervical screen doesn't make a woman not a virgin. Only by having sexual intercourse can a woman lose her virginity. However, this idea or this idea of misinformation, if you will, is very prominent within some communities and some cultures, and also on the internet. So it's just one to be mindful of when we're discussing barriers to screening with women. It's also important to note that women of certain faiths and cultures and communities are entering into marriage at a later stage in life. So this again can make them put back their cervical screening. And again, that's another barrier. Okay, so let me just go on to my next slide. We're doing well. You're getting all the answers right. People with learning disabilities, so a learning disability, not a physical disability, a learning disability, do not need to attend for cervical screening. So I'm going to launch a poll for this one. So let's see, we're doing well with our polls. So is this true, false, or are you unsure? So I'll launch the poll, so if you can vote now. So we're doing well. Okay, I think as many of us who can vote have probably voted. Oh, there's still a few more voting. So, yep, I'm going to stop the vote and I'll share the results. So if you've got 5 seconds to vote if you've not already done it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'll end that poll now. So I'll share the results and you're all absolutely right. Well done. So let me just get rid of that one off there. So there's somebody coming in. Yes, it's false. But I'd take unsure as well on that one. Oddly enough, it is false, but I would take unsure. They do need to attend for cervical screening, and in most cases, this will be a conversation that they either themselves will have or their carers need to have with their GP about whether or not it's viable and that they have a need to attend. It's a discussion based very much on an individual basis about their own circumstances. Recent studies have shown figures as low as 1 in 4 or 25% of women with a learning disability are attending for their cervical screen, as opposed to 73% of the general population. So we really do need to do a lot more work within the community to get those figures up. Okay, so the next question, how many different types of HPV are there? A, B, C, or D? So we're going to write our answers in the chat box. A, B, C, or D? So write your answers now in the chat box. We've got a mix there, which is good. I always like it when we get a bit of a mix. Makes it a bit more interesting. If everyone knows all the answers, then the questions are too easy. So, yeah. Okay, brilliant, brilliant. So, the answer is D. There are over 100 types of HPV. Yep. But only around 13 or 14 of them are considered high risk. Okay, so the next question is, what % of cervical cancers are caused by an HPV infection? So I'm going to launch my last poll because I do like a poll. I think they make it a little bit more interesting and interactive. So I'll launch the poll. So you've got 30%, 50%, 75%, or over 99%. So what percentage of cervical cancers are caused by HPV infection? Okay, we're all managing to vote quite easy, so that's quite good. For those of you who aren't managing to vote, just write it on a pad at home and you'll know if you're getting your answers right or wrong. Okay, I'm happy with, yeah, I'm going to end the voting in 5 seconds. So I'll give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Brilliant. So I'll share the results. As you can see, we've got a mixed bag there. Okay, some think it's 30, 50, 75, and 90, over 99. So the answer is D. It's over 99%. It's actually between 99.7 and 99.8. Varies in that little 0.01%. So that's the figure that's listed. 99.8 is the figure that's listed on Cancer Research UK website. So that's really, it's very high. So most cervical cancers are caused by HPV infection. Oops, let me just stop sharing those results. Don't know why that's just came back up. Which is phenomenally high, and less than 0.2% of cervical cancers happen because of other factors. So that's interesting. That always amazes me, that one. Okay, so our next slide is cervical screening can prevent people from getting cancer in the first place. True, false, or unsure? Okay, so we're going to write our answers in the chat box for this one. True, false, or unsure? Let's see how we are. True. We've got a mixed bag of answers again, which is great. Yeah, I'll give you all a couple of minutes. True, we've got a couple of trues, falses. We don't seem to have many unsures, but that's fine. True. Excellent. Okay, so I'll give you the answers to that one. It's true. Cervical screening protects against cervical cancer. So screening spots those changes before they turn cancerous. So if this is cancer, this is screening. We're checking the cells of the cervix here before it gets to there. Okay, so we check the cells of the cervix here, so any early changes we can detect, we can pick up, and we can stop it from getting there. So cervical cancer does protect against cervical cancer. Okay, so that brings me to the end of that quiz. Hope you all enjoyed it, and hope you learned at least one thing that you didn't know or you wasn't quite sure about. If you knew all the answers, great, but hopefully you learned a little something there. That leads me on to our key messages. So our key messages are that we can share as cancer champions, that we share with others. Our key messages are, if it's unusual for you, see your GP. So we all know our own bodies. So if we notice anything that's unusual, anything that doesn't feel right, or we've got any of those concerns, book an appointment to talk through them with your GP. Okay, don't sit on those changes and wait for them to get worse or anything like that. Talk to your own GP. And then the next one is early detection saves lives. So women of cervical screening age who regularly attend for their screening will have any of the early changes picked up in their smear test, usually before they turn cancerous. So that brings us on to our last key message, and it's our last but certainly not least: cancer screening saves lives. Like I just said, cervical screening aims to find those cell changes before they become cancerous. So yeah, if it's unusual for you, book an appointment to see your GP. Early detection saves lives, cancer screening saves lives. Okay, so there are the 3 key messages. So if we know nothing else as cancer champions, there are the 3 key messages that we need to know and to pass on to others. Okay, so I just want to inform you of some training that I've got coming up. So I've got some cervical cancer screening awareness and prevention training coming up. And for anyone who'd like to learn a little bit more about cervical cancer, if you're interested and would like to book on, I'll send the links out when we send the follow-up information out. I've also got a cervical screening fact sheet and a cervical cancer quiz with some of these questions on that I'll also email out to you at the end of today's session. I'll either do it tomorrow or on Friday. And hopefully you can use it in your workplaces or with your community groups or with family, friends. So that's that. We did have a raised hand from Dr. Jackie Lewis. Jackie, would you like to say what you wanted to say just before I pass over to Adrian?
Thanks a lot, Elizabeth. It was just to say that on the question about that people who've never had sex can have a smear, it's certainly true and important, but it can be really uncomfortable for them. So doctors tend to discuss it with them. And if they really don't want to have a smear test, then it's not done. And they're very, very careful about this. It's not easy for somebody who's never had sex. And also there was a question about cervical cancer in people who are under 25 or older women. So both are relatively unusual. It can happen in young women if they started having sex at a very young age. However, sometimes in the past, treatments used to be given where the changes on the smear might have improved naturally. And then there were risks that they could have problems when it came to pregnancy. So by and large, it was felt that it was safe to leave it to 25 because it is a screening program where they've got to be careful to get the best possible results for the patients. But it's still really important if you're chatting with a young woman under 25 and they're getting very irregular cycle, bleeding when they don't expect it, or bleeding with sex, for people in the audience that they should recommend that they see their doctor. They don't wait till they're 25 if they're getting symptoms, because they need to be examined. They won't be given a smear, but they do need to be examined and checked out.
Thanks very much, Jackie. Some really good points you pointed out there. Thank you so much. Thanks for that contribution. So I'm going to hand it over to you now, Adrian. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Good morning, everybody. I've got kind of a couple of minutes just to talk to you about some top tips, really, some ideas that might help you think about different ways you can engage with your communities. And I've only got 3 top tips. I've got some pictures and some photographs. After this session, we are going to go into a breakout room. So we're going to go into smaller groups to talk about some of the ideas that you have and some of the ideas that I'm going to share with you now. So lots of time to talk about this. So the first of my 3 top tips is jump on a bandwagon. So there are tons of campaigns, tons of examples, lots of things that you can use to help you with your ideas. And one of the ones that's kind of really good and really nice at the moment is this one. So this is from Joe's Trust. Joe's Trust is the charity that does a lot of work around cervical screening and cervical cancer awareness and so on. And this one is #SmearForSmear. So this one's kind of as it says on the tin, you smear your lipstick and you take a photo. So obviously, kind of doing that by yourself probably won't have much awareness raising. So it's really about kind of sharing that on your social media using the hashtag, sharing that on Facebook, sharing that on Instagram if you've got that. But don't think you all have to be social media users for that one. Why not kind of share it across your WhatsApp group? So I'm sure all of us, whether it's a personal WhatsApp group or whether it's a work WhatsApp group as well, you know, take a picture and share it. And then what Joe's Trust have been asking is that you share it with the hashtag, you include a message saying smears are really important, you should go for them, talk about it with family and friends and get them involved in that too as well. Now, Elizabeth, I'm gonna, I've got control at the moment and it's being really, really slow. So I'm gonna ask if you can take back control of the screen so that you can just forward my slides for me.
Yeah, sure, no problem, Adrian.
Right, brilliant. So next slide, please. Right, some examples of how you smear your lipstick. I'm sure you kind of don't need it. The point there to kind of make is this is not just one for women, it's one for the boys too. And how you smear your lipstick is entirely up to you. Next slide. So you can go, you know, crazy maybe this is an instance where more smear is not good smear, but go for it. Next slide.
No.
You could go as big as you want or as small as you want. Next slide, and I think this is our video.
Let me just make sure I have. Let me just click onto it.
Well, the internet is melting over a toddler who's making it known she is definitely a big girl now.
Did you do anything in the bathroom? Nothing?
I was putting some lipstick on, and then I was giving my phone.
So you put, what'd you put on?
Lipstick on.
Did you ask anybody if you could put it on?
I asked myself.
Where'd you buy it at?
My lipstick?
Yeah.
I buy it from Home Depot.
Oh, Home Depot, huh? Instead of getting mad, a Florida dad got his phone out and took this adorable video of his daughter after she glammed herself up with mom's lipstick or yipstick. Dad posted the video to Facebook, and it's already got almost 500,000 shares, lots of likes and lots of smiles.
I didn't know they sold yipstick at Home Depot. I don't know.
There you go. So a really good reminder there. Video is fantastic. Pictures are great. Video is even better sometimes. And with a good video, you can share that again on your Instagram or WhatsApp. You know, you can take video and kind of have a little kind of gallery. So some kind of nice ideas there for sharing your smear for smear. So my top tip 2, as we've seen from Elizabeth's session, is people love a good quiz. And quizzes are probably one of the easiest ways to engage kind of audiences, or even to engage kind of family members. So last night, I had my first Zoom quiz, probably for about 5 or 6 months. It felt really retro to do it, but Zoom or Facebook or Google Hangouts, wherever you do it, really good places to bring people together for quizzes. So if we flick on to the next slide. So a couple of quiz ideas. So if you've got a work, so that means kind of a community group, if you've got a Facebook page, then advertise having a quiz across cervical cancer prevention week. So with that kind of coming up, hold an online quiz. It doesn't have to be on Facebook. You've got a couple of different options there, depending upon which one you use. For those of you who have an Instagram page, you may or may not know that you can press a button and use your phone to broadcast live on Instagram. And obviously, just like Elizabeth did there, you can get people to put answers in the comments box as well and get some interactivity. So if you click next, Elizabeth.
Oh.
So you can also think about doing it across WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is a really underused way. We tend to do it for kind of messages, but there's nothing stopping you from having that quiz across your WhatsApp group and getting people to type answers in as well. If you use WhatsApp broadcast, then that's a way of sending the messages out. Next slide, Elizabeth. Or a slightly different way of having a quiz. Now, this was something we used to use an awful lot when we did face-to-face engagement, and we'd print out the odd one out onto sheets, onto A4 sheets. And when we were in face-to-face world, it was a really good way of getting people to stop and biting their curiosity just by asking the question, which is the odd one out? So in this instance, I'll kind of ask people, do you know who the odd one out is? So if somebody puts in comments into the chat box. Any ideas who the odd one out? So I didn't know who these people were. They're all kind of famous, I suppose, influencers. So people who've come through various kind of shows and things like that. Right, couple of answers. Jade. So yeah, as you kind of might guess, this one's connected to cervical cancer. So Jade, unfortunately, Jade in a very high profile case, Jade unfortunately died from cervical cancer. Jade kind of admitted that she kind of ignored her screens. So they've all had cervical cancer, but the odd one out in this instance is Jade. So it's a really kind of good way of kind of interacting with people and just getting them to think about, you know, getting into discussions about cervical screening or cervical cancer signs and symptoms. So next slide, Elizabeth. So Another kind of idea that might work if you're either doing a Zoom or doing something visual, and this is a virtual scavenger hunt. And we share this idea as part of our training, which we do online engagement efforts. So this is kind of a typical virtual scavenger hunt. And what you do is you kind of get people to go off and do these things or find an object about these things. So things that make you happy might be your mobile phone, for example. So that's the idea. So if we flick to the next slide, we could change that. Flick to the next button, Elizabeth.
I'm clicking. This is your one that's got your.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
yeah.
There it is. Sorry, Adrian.
There you go. That's okay. So there's nothing stopping us from turning that into a cervical scavenger hunt. So in this instance, what we've kind of thought about is, you can see we put some examples there that might be related to either cervical screening or cervical cancer. Find a pair of pants. Find something you can smear. So that hopefully would be a lipstick. I suppose it could be, well, it could be anything, couldn't it? Find a pen. So something that you might use to write down your appointment, because appointments are something we shouldn't miss. Something that reminds you about a friend. If it's your first time, if you're feeling a bit anxious about it, you might want to take a friend. So you can see from the examples there, and these will be in the slides when we send out, it's really quite easy to change something like this. And it's kind of quite interactive, and people get up and you have quite a bit of fun. For people who perhaps kind of might be less mobile, then you can change that to things you can reach around you. Could be a bit more limited. So that's kind of one idea. Next slide, Elizabeth. So my next top tip is kind of to get creative. And most of the ideas that I'm going to share with you next, they came from other people. So, you know, jump on a bandwagon, jump on other people's bandwagon. So first thing, so the next slide I'm going to share has some pictures of a campaign that was ran for cervical screening. And the campaign was called What's Pants But Could Save Your Life. And it was a really nice campaign because it kind of, you know, flipped the idea that a cervical screen isn't necessarily something we enjoy doing or women enjoy doing, but it's something that's really important. So I was thinking about this, and then I was thinking about a community engagement event. Next slide, Elizabeth. And this was something that a team in Salford of champions did. And this was in a GP surgery. And they took loads of pairs of knickers and they pegged them out in the GP waiting room, just as kind of a way to start kind of piquing people's kind of curiosity and to get people talking. So I was thinking about these, and then I thought about the next slide. And the next slide is bling your bra. So bling your bra is something that we kind of often do or have done with community groups as part of breast screening awareness. And there's some really fab examples. I particularly love the innovation of the guy who's turned his bra into a spice rack. So, you know, the world is your oyster in terms of blinging your bra. So if we put all of these together, what do we get? Next slide. We get bling your pants. So why not have an online creative session? So, you know, kind of tell people about it beforehand, get them to bring an old pair of knickers. You don't have to be as kind of as creative or as left field as the previous examples. Pens kind of work really well. So have an online creative session. You can have a competition where you create a set of instructions and you get people to post their blinged pants, post them to Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, or you could get them to post it to you, as in to email it or to text their pictures to you, and then you can share it. So even if people aren't on social media, if they've just got a smartphone, that's a brilliant way to do it as well. And like I said earlier, videos are cool. So always think about sharing videos. It's really cool and a really good way to kind of create a sense of fun and energy. So I've got 2 slides left to show you. My next slide. So some creative ideas, and this is kind of ideas about kind of bringing people together. So they're all around kind of coffee mornings, get together, bling sessions, quizzes or music, you know, have a karaoke session. I was talking to a Polish community group the other day who said one of their most successful online sessions was around karaoke. And again, there's nothing stopping you from theming that. So bling and share, an afternoon tea, show us your bloomers. If you're from a workplace, same thing kind of for you. So let's all see, or you could turn your team meeting into a see meeting. Some nice creative ways of thinking of bringing people together just to talk about cervical screening. And then our final idea before I hand on, cervical bingo. Now, I wish I could come up with the credit for all of these wonderful call signs, and we've gone up to 10 here, but you know, the world is your oyster. If you can think of more signs to call out for the different numbers, go for it. So this obviously works in real life when you have bingo cards, when you have the chance to call out, but also works online as well. And you've got any number of online free programs where you can get a bingo card to send out. Or if you want in advance, you can make them online to send them out to people as well. So, you know, number 3, it's so simple. Just wait, you'll see. Number 5, have your screen, say alive. So I think my job is a bingo caller. Yeah, let's see. So that's kind of some of our top tips to get your creative juices flowing. Have a think about those. If you've got any of your own ideas, then we'd be really interested and really keen for you to share them in the next session. So the next session is our breakout rooms. So we're all going to go into smaller rooms of around it'll be about 7 people in a room, and there's going to be an Answer Cancer staff member in there who will help facilitate and keep the discussion going. So we want you to do actually 3 things. The first thing we'd like you to do is just say hello to each other and have a chat and get to know each other and, you know, and share some news. Second thing we'd like you to do is to think about what makes a good cancer screening program. So kind of generally, doesn't have to be a cervical cancer screening campaign or a cervical cancer awareness campaign, but what makes a good campaign? Why was it successful? Have you been involved in any? And then just tell us about the plans you've got for Cervical Cancer Prevention Week. So dead simple.
So thank you for that, everybody. I hope you had a good chat. I hope you shared lots of great ideas. Apologies for leaning right into the camera. Elizabeth has told me my speaker isn't too good, so I'm leaning as close to the mic as I can. So thanks for that. Thanks for your contributions. So what we'll do, if it wasn't clear, we'll write up the notes and the ideas and the suggestions and the news that you shared. So we'll type it up and then we'll send that back out with the group. So we don't have time to feedback now, but we will be sharing all of the ideas. So next on the agenda, and kind of related to this, I'm going to hand over to Martin and maybe Vanessa. And Martin and or Vanessa are going to talk about some of the Answer Cancer resources available for Cervical Cancer Prevention Week.
Hi everyone, can you hear me all right? Great. Yeah, so Vanessa, my colleague, and I have put together some Cancer Champions will receive the resources in the next couple of days, but we'll also put them in the chat after I've finished this so you can download them as well. So in there you'll see there's a series of images that you can use on your social media. There's a few documents and posters. We've also got a couple of key messages around cervical cancer, which I think you'll probably find useful. So some of the stuff that we've gone through this morning, just to kind of give you the facts about cervical cancer, which I think is obviously really important. If you're going out talking to people in the community, you want to know that you've got all the facts to hand and you know what you're talking about and you're confident about what you're talking about. So some of this that I'm just talking about now is just kind of reiterating some of the stuff that Adrian's already mentioned. So just a few kind of ideas of what you might want to do with these resources. So could obviously use them as a basis for live question and answer sessions, so sort of thing that we've talked about earlier on. And this is something that we as an organisation and as a project can help you with. If you need somebody to come along to help you run those sessions, to give the correct kind of information to people, make sure you're giving people the right sort of answers to those questions. Something that Adrian talked about earlier on, sharing them on your social media feeds, So on your Twitter, on your Facebook or your Instagram or whatever social media you happen to be on, and asking people to share them. So we're going to be sharing a lot of these resources next week during Cervical Cancer Prevention Week. So obviously, it'd be really great if people could share those messages from our feeds as well, just to kind of amplify them. And we've put the hashtag there, IScreen, which is the hashtag we're going to be using next week. So another thing you could do is hold a team lunchtime session. So obviously we're all on Zoom for a lot of our work at the minute. So you might be having a team meeting perhaps. So you could ask your colleagues if it's okay just to have a few minutes just to talk about cervical cancer and maybe show one of the videos that we've put together, which is in the resource pack. So you could do that perhaps. And then finally, just having conversations really. That's the best way sometimes to get the message out, just talking to people in your community, your friends, your neighbours, your colleagues, and making people aware of things that are going on. And we mentioned the courses that Elizabeth's holding next week as well. So that's something you can tell people about if they're interested to find out more. And lastly, just get in touch with us if you need any help or support. My colleague Vanessa has joined us recently, so she's around to give people help around how to use the resources, what sort of things to do with them, anything that you need help with, technical support, if that's the barrier that you have. As I said, we're all kind of doing things on Zoom these days, and some people don't have the kind of the confidence to do that with a big group perhaps. So that's something we can give you help with. So I think those are the main things really. I'm going to put the link to the resource pack in the chat. It's a WeTransfer link, so you need to download it in the next, I think, 7 days or something like that. But we'll also be emailing things out to people as well. But obviously, if you've got any questions, then let us know. And I think I'll hand back to Adrian.
Martin, some more kind of great ideas for you there, and plenty of resources. So, you know, going back to my first kind of tip about jump on a bandwagon, that also means share and use the wealth and variety of resources that are out there. And if you need some help kind of pointing you to a particular place, then give us a shout and we can share the Answer Cancer resources or other people's as well. So the next bit is our plan section. So we always like to get people to think about a plan when they take part in any of our training or awareness or stakeholder sessions. So those of you who've been on training will be aware there are 2 ways that you can think about your plan. So for those of you who've got your smartphones, for those of you who can remember being allowed out to restaurants or bars before we went into lockdown, you'll be very familiar with a QR code. So to use a QR code with your phone, you simply open up your camera, you point it at the screen, you point it at that barcode, and it will invite you to go to a survey planning link. So that's open on your phone. If you've got that open on your phone, put your phone to one side, forget about it. For those of you who either don't have a phone or you're less familiar with QR codes, if you go to the chat box, then Elizabeth has put the link in the chat box, and you can either cut and paste that link or click on the link, and it will open a different window on your laptop. It will open a different window on your iPad, whatever you're using. So however you've done it, whether it's on your phone or whether it's on your screen, you should now have a planning form. So what we'd like you to do, and you don't have to do it now, but I'll just quickly talk you through it. What I'd like you to do is to think about one thing you are going to do as a result of taking part today. So from the ideas that have been shared, what are you going to do? The plan should be very simple. And we've put some examples on screen there. Are you going to organise a virtual coffee morning? Are you going to sign up as an Answer Cancer champion? Are you going to do something on Facebook, organise a Facebook event? So your plan should be something that's really simple, something that's achievable, and something that's related to cervical cancer or cervical screening. So that's it. You don't have to do your plans now. Put your phone to one side, and I'm now going to hand back over to Elizabeth.
So thanks, Adrian. Just to reiterate, if you don't get the chance to do your plans now or even after this session, I will be sending out a planning link. So if you don't do them now, we would still like you to do them at some point, and you can follow the link when it lands in your email box. So let me just get rid of this. So far today, we've had some top tips on how we're going to engage people. Adrian did a fantastic presentation on engaging people and all the different ways we could do that. We had a quiz, and Martin has also gone through the campaign resources that we've got, and you've also been in a networking session with each other and discussed what you've done previously and things like that. And now, with your plans in mind, we'd just like you to offer you the chance of additional help and support, not just with your plans, but moving forward after today. So if you're planning an engagement, if you're planning an awareness session, or you're thinking of and you've got ideas for one and you'd like some help out how to get that off the ground, or you'd like somebody to maybe come and facilitate it for you or with you or help you to do it, whatever your needs are, and we've got the engagement and delivery team who can help and support with that. For all your training and development needs, if you want to book onto training and want to put your name down for our training e-bulletin, the best way to get training news and updates is to sign up to be an Answer Cancer Champion. But I run scheduled training throughout the year, but I also can run a tailored session to meet the needs of you and your clients or your group or whatever. So if you need any training and development support, contact me. I'm going to launch a poll in a second and you can click through. If you want to know more information about our Cancer Champion program and our lead Answer Cancer Champion, and some of the great work that they do, click through for that one. And again, the campaign resources and comms that Martin's just talked about. So what I'll do now is we have research and evaluation, which for some reason it hasn't come on that one. But what I'll do is I'll launch my last poll, our workstream support offer. So click as many of these as you want help and support with. I'll give you the chance to click through now. So just click as many people, as much help as that you think you need. At the end of today's session, all this will be collated, and then the people in charge of those work streams will contact you over the next week or two to see how they can help and support you further. So are we managing to click through? Anybody? Does anybody need any? There's nothing coming up on my screen.
Nothing's happening when I'm clicking.
Elizabeth, it doesn't give the option to it's the share results screen rather than the click screen, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. Let me just stop that then. I'll relaunch the poll.
Yeah.
Is it done it now? Can people? I wonder why it was the share screen. Okay, you can vote now. So apologies about that. Oh, look, we're getting results through straight away. So yeah, apologies about that. Just click through as many that you feel that you'd like some help with, and the people from those work streams will get back to you and see how they can support you, and they'll do that within a week or so, but they will get back to you. Okay, and it doesn't have to be work that you've got planned this week. It can be work that you've got planned next week or for next month or even for the month after. Just any support that you feel that you need moving forward. So I'll give you a chance to do that now, because you are managing to do it. Let me just see. Yeah, I'm not going to share these results with you because they're just for our staff and you don't really need to see them. So yeah, these are just for us so that we can get back to you. I'll just give you another minute or so. I think most of you have managed to do it now, the people who've needed it. So I'll give you we'll say an extra 15 seconds. I won't count down till it gets to the last 5. So I think I'm on. Okay, so right, that's it. I'm going to end that poll now. Okay, so thank you very much for taking part in that. I'm not sharing the results, like I said, but what I will do now is I'll hand you back over to Jess, who will go through our next steps and close today's session for us. Jess, are you there?
Yep, I am there. Thanks, Elizabeth. Sorry, my mute wouldn't turn off. So thanks, everybody. I think we've covered some really interesting things today, and certainly shared some useful resources and given people lots of ideas to take away. So the next steps that we have, so you're going to receive an email, as Elizabeth's already said, which you will get your Make a Plan form. You will get your equality monitoring form, and we really ask that you fill this in so we can really look at who we're engaging with and who's coming along to the stakeholders sessions, because you know we are a program that engages across the board with different communities, and we want to make sure that we're reaching out to all different communities. You will receive the presentation slides from today. You will get the cervical cancer screening fact sheet, the cervical cancer screening quiz. You can have the opportunity to sign up for future training, and you'll also get information on campaign resources. And as always, if you'd like any support from us, you know, get in contact either through the website or through one of the team members. As always, we have the websites that people are aware about. There's an Anti-Cancer GM one and also the Cancer Champion ones. So thank you all very much for joining with us today. And just to really say that, you know, we're in difficult times at the moment with COVID and with the lockdown and with numbers still so high. But although COVID is taking over the primary focus of everything at the moment, we've really got to be aware that cancer is still here, and it is really still affecting an awful lot of people. So with that in mind, the cancer screening programs are still operating. They are COVID safe. If anybody's got concerns about going for their screening tests, you know, contact your GP, have a chat, really get some support to talk through any of your concerns. We also have the cancer screening improvement leads that we can put people in contact with if there's any particular issues that people need support or information about as well. But please, if you get an invite for your cancer screening, please do take it up. I know it's scary times, but you know, there is going to be life after COVID once we've all got the vaccine, fingers crossed. But you know, Elizabeth, are we doing a question and answer session?
Yeah,
now?
Jess, can I just say, just before you finish, thank you so much. Could I just ask anybody who didn't sign in at the beginning, because we had a few latecomers, if they can just put their first name and surname in the chat box, just so we've got a register of who's been here today, because we had people do it at the beginning, but we've had people attend as the session's gone on who may not have done it. So if they can just do that now, that's as the one last thing.
Elizabeth, my chat box isn't working for some reason. Got to
it's
get
okay, Jackie,
in.
we've got your name.
I'm
it's
sure
okay,
you have on my voice.
Yeah.
And
can I just ask, please? I think there's somebody that's logged on a landline.
It's Adrian. It's fine, Zainab.
Okay,
thank
that's
you.
Fine. Thank you.
So, yeah, if you can all put your names, whoever's not done it, in the chat box. And yeah, absolutely, Jess. We're staying now for an informal chat till 12. So anybody who wants to, has to go because they've got conflicting priorities or they just need to be somewhere else, and please feel free to leave now. And for everybody else, we've got a Q&A coming up. I don't understand why my screen's just gone blank there. Oh, there it is. We've got an informal Q&A coming up. So thank you for everybody for attending. Thanks, Jess, for those words. Thanks. My screen just keeps going blank. Thanks. So for everyone who's got to go, bye now, and then we'll just give them a minute to just log off. And then for everybody else, they can stay here, and then we'll get on with the Q&A if that's okay. If anyone does have any questions and they're not able to ask them, they can either email them over to me and I'll get the answers back to them as soon as I can. So we'll just give people a minute who are going to go and go. So thank you very much, everybody.